Now we are going to negate all the statements from this example by applying the rules that we developed in the last video. So we are going to apply the negation of that is that. Negation of that is that. Well, again, try to emphasize this is pretty important skill. Just think about this. Like without writing that into symbolic form, are you able to, or I just ask you, is that easy in your opinion to negate this statement? Like there is a student who cheated on every test. Well, I feel like it's a bit challenging. Okay, it's a little bit challenging. So let's see. I would just say, first of all, let's negate the symbolic form, which is pretty easy by applying one of these two rules, right? So actually, the rule is you don't really need to remember that too much. Okay, it's pretty intuitive if you remember the rule for negating statements with only one quantifier. Okay, the negation, the red is the negation. Begin with the exist, the negation will be for all you in you. And then you have to negate the second part, right? Just continue to negate. So the negation of the second part for all becomes the exist t in t such that, and you continue to negate, not p of ut. So now let's translate this back into English, regular, informal English statements. Remember, think about this as an action. And so for all you in you, just say, suppose you just let someone else arbitrarily pick a student from this class. So in other words, for any student you pick, okay? So in other words, for arbitrary as for any student, okay, any student you pick, I can always find a test so that these students did not cheat on that particular test that I find. Okay, so in other words, for any student T, there is a test such that these students, because there is I'm sorry, for any student that you pick, right? We are going to say not P of UT. So you first select the student for any student. So that this student did not cheat on that test. So basically, in other words, all students, any one of those did not cheat on some test. Basically, that's what it was saying. Okay. Now, again, you can go back and see. Now, does this statement sound the opposite of these statements? If you, I hope you feel yes, and you can also now, probably you realize how difficult it is without going through these the intermediate steps, like converting it into symbolic form and negate the symbolic form, so that you can correctly find the negation of these statements, right? So that's how powerful this skill is. Let's take a look at the second one. The negation is for all, that means there exists T in T such that for all you in you, and we negate P of UT. Okay, so now that means we are able to find a test. There exists a test so that no matter who you pick, the student did not cheat on this test. That means no matter who you pick, that means all people you pick, they did not cheat on this test, right? So in other words, the negation, I probably better to write that in red. Red means the negation. So that means there is a test such that no students cheated on that test. No student cheated on that test. And just again, review every test was cheated by some students, and here is saying there is a test, so that no students cheated on that test. The next one is every student cheated on at least one test or on some test. So the negation for this guy will be there exists U in U such that for all T in T, comma, not P of UT, right? And I believe that after you do a few negation, you become very proficient on negating the symbolic form. Now let's try to rewrite that into regular statement. So that means you're able to find a student, right? You're able to find a student. No matter, let someone else pick any test that you like, that they like, and then you're gonna prove that these students did not cheat on that test. So that means there is a student. There is a student. This student is so smart and so nice that this student did not cheat on any test. Who or did not cheat on any test. Let's look at the last one. And the negation is, again, without even looking at this original statement, just looking at the symbolic form, it's pretty easy to negate. For all T in T, there exists U in U such that not P of UT. Okay, so in other words, you're gonna let people pick any test, any single test. We can always find a student, and that students did not cheat on this test. Okay, so that's what it says. So in other words, for every single test, we can always find, right? We can always find, or you can just say there exists one. We can always find a student, or there exists a student who did not cheat on that particular test. That particular test. So I just say this test is for every randomly picked test. For every test you pick, okay? We can always find some students that did not cheat on that particular test that you select. All right, so this is it for this particular section.